This happened this morning, I believe it was, right? Cory Booker. One of the things that we keep hearing over and over again is that for some reason there are, and it is hilarious, you know, it is, I haven't watched enough cable news to know with how much skepticism Chuck Grassley's claim that 80% of the documents have been, handed over. Like, this is like
color scans.
Yeah, it is akin to the idea that, like, I gave you 80% of the house, just not the bathroom or the kitchen. But you have 80% of the house. Why wouldn't you want to live there? Right? And the 20% of documents that have either been completely withheld from the committee, there's a lot more, I think, than 20% that's been withheld, but 20% have been listed as committee confidential. This is not a U.S. security classification. This is an internal classification. These are not classified documents in the sense that that is actually a classification of national security. They are just committee confidential. But there are Senate rules that the Senate could change at any time that say you're not supposed to hand these over. But theoretically, the reason why these are not being made public, right? Like, we had this dilemma with Leahy the other day saying, I've looked at documents that suggest maybe Brett Kavanaugh got stolen information and was aware that it was stolen from Democratic staffers' computers back in 04 or 02, and that he got it from someone who was referred under a criminal complaint to the DOJ. But I can't show Kavanaugh the email, and I can't show the public the email because you have said that they are committee confidential. And presumably these documents are committee confidential because releasing them would in some way compromise U.S. security or some other precept, I guess, that the Senate Judiciary Committee ostensibly is supposed to be protecting. Well, Cory Booker basically is calling their bluff. And this is a pretty, again, not necessarily the biggest Cory Booker fan, but you have to give props. This is what this committee work, this is what it's about. When you've got no authority beyond your ability to sort of leverage things, this is what you've got to do.
Senate rule accounts for Bill Burke's partisan review of the documents. No Senate rule and no history of the Senate accounts for what is going on right now. There was that was following this archives, this partisan operative, following his involvement in this process that I think, in my opinion, undermined the process. And the idea that we could somehow go through your lengthy process, and many of these documents are dumped us in the last minute, but to Senator Cornyn actually made a very good point. I knowingly violated the rules that were put forth, and I'm told that the committee confidential rules have knowing consequences. And so, sir, I come from a long line, as all of us do as Americans, and understand what that kind of civil disobedience is, and I understand the consequences. So I am right now, before your process is finished, I'm going to release the email about racial profiling. And I understand that the penalty comes with potential ousting from the Senate. And if Senator Cornyn believes that I violated Senate rules, I openly invite and accept the consequences of my team releasing that email right now. And I'm releasing it to expose that, number one, the emails that are being withheld from the public have nothing to do with national security, nothing to jeopardize the sanctity of those ideals that I hold dear. Instead, what I'm releasing this document right now to show, sir, is that we have a process here for a person, the highest office in the land, for a lifetime appointment. We're rushing through this before me and my colleagues can even read and digest the information.
Can I ask you?
And
Can I ask you how long you're going to say the same thing 3 or 4 times?
No, sir.
How long do you want?
I'm saying I'm knowingly violating the rules.
Okay.
Senator Cornyn has called me out for it.
How many times you going to tell us,
sir? I'm saying right now that I'm releasing committee confidential documents.
Mr. Chairman, since the senator invoked my name, I insist on an opportunity to respond.
Yeah.
I did not mention his name,
Okay.
but he had mentioned my name, and he's right. Running for president is no excuse for violating the rules of the Senate or of the confidentiality of the documents that we are privy to. This is no different from the senator deciding to release classified information that is deemed classified by the executive branch because you happen to disagree with the class.
It is exactly different than that. That is why there are different classifications. Releasing classified information is a far greater offense. You may be able to be kicked out of the Senate, but you can't be tried for releasing that information. And the reason is because it is not as serious of a classification. That's the reason why.
Because you happen to disagree with the classification decision. That is irresponsible and outrageous. And I hope that the senator will reconsider his decision, because no senator deserves to sit on this committee or serve in the Senate, in my view, if they decide to be a law unto themselves and willingly flout the rules of the Senate and the determination of confidentiality and classification. That is irresponsible and conduct unbecoming a senator.
Yeah, I mean, I think the argument that that Booker makes up front is you have already delegitimized this process, so it's all open. And he's also basically saying to Cornyn and the rest of them, you want to throw me out of the Senate? You might as well also have me take the oath of office and plan my inauguration, because if you throw me out of the Senate for releasing this email about racial profiling, I won't even have to.
I've been doing creative visualization exercises when I'm president in 2020.
Exactly.
There's a lot of different scenarios. What you do is you set the intention, but you can't control the outcome.
Right.
I didn't picture it with a crusty, old, racist, grouchy bastard kicking me out of the Senate for an unexpectedly courageous move that I would do, but I am absolutely willing. If that's what it takes for me to become president, I would literally kill my own mother. So getting kicked out of the Senate, which is frankly pretty boring and disgusting anyway, is totally going to work for me.
If you would like to give me a great reason to spend the next 26 months unencumbered by my position as a senator, but with a huge national platform,
I will still get
opportunity to raise money.
I will blow Michael Avenatti out of the water.
Yeah,
Yes.
Michael Avenatti, you'll never hear from again. I'll still get Bristol Myers Squibb donations. Kamala, you're doing a great job, but this is the next level. So please, I'm actually begging you. Could you move the motion forward to expel me from the Senate?
Yes, exactly. But you know, look, you got to hand it to him.
That was great.
This is
That was
exactly the
excellent.
type of thing. He has put them in a lose-lose situation. And here's the other problem they have. Like, if Booker gets away with releasing one of these emails, like, what's to stop Leahy from going, well, I'm tired. I think I could go for a break.
I think
I'd
go for a leak in both senses.
Exactly. So here's all of it.
Yeah, here's everything.
Yep.
Well, I think what we're.
What are you going to do? Expel all the senators on that committee?
I wouldn't put it past them, actually. But I think it's actually great, though, when you do see, like, the center right, which I would, just by an objective standard, essentially consider Cory Booker and Kamala Harris to be, like, the more third-way Democrats. Like, the two arguments are always ideology and competence. And the great failing of Hillary Clinton was we already knew her ideology was bad in a broad sense on most important issues. But the incredible failure of competence in terms of, like, political combat.
Right.
And Cory Booker and Kamala Harris are showing that they're really good at that. And I'm glad, because the reality is that there is still a broad, at least in electoral terms, it's a broad coalition at this point. It includes people in the center, and I want them to be able to win and
Right.
defeat Republicans. And
Right.
I'm glad to see that.
Right. I mean, it's it's just a good play by Booker there. I mean, it was impressive.
It's always a balance, right? The more time they spend fighting the right and not the left, that's going to be good for us.
Harris
Right.
also